On the happy world of 5FM radio, bringing you hot, smoldering topics on a weekly basis. Your participation is important.
A very wonderful morning to you all. Welcome to this edition, the Thursday edition of the Burning Issue here on 5FM radio. But we are also live, don't forget, on our partner radio stations. We are also live on Tuta FM in Mansa on 90.7 FM. Live also on Mchinga Radio on 88.1, that is in Chinsali, covering Mchinga province. Also live on iWave FM radio in Chingola, covering the rest of the Copper Belt, that is on 90.1 FM. Live also on Platinum Radio in Indola on 99.7. Thank you very much. And also live on Spice FM in Kabwe, covering Central Province on 91.1. And here in Lusaka, you are tuned into 5FM radio on 89.9. And we are also live on our Facebook page. That's 5FM Radio Zambia. And I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Now, sincere apologies for starting the program late. This was due to circumstances beyond our guest's control. And otherwise, the guest is finally here, and we are good to start the program. And our guest, remember, is Mr. Andyford Mayele Banda. He is People's Alliance for Change Party president. He recently produced or published a book, which I believe will touch on it a little bit. And the book that he published is called or titled Economic Systems Dismantling: Why Zambia Can Be the Model for Africa Transformation. All right. So good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Apologies for delaying because of circumstances beyond our control.
Right.
But we are happy to be here. And good morning to all the listeners out there. Mwashuken mkwai kwanza kumletu mfuira kumansa kopa beot kukabwe na munamusaka twatotera mkwai.
Mkwai. So I mentioned in my preamble that you recently published a book, obviously Economic Systems Dismantling, Why Zambia Can Be the Model for African Transformation. The fact that you are a politician who aspires to lead this country, we believe that you published this book with a well intention, or indeed to display your vision as a party and as a leader. Am I right?
Well, I mean, the book was not really basically for the party or for me. I think the book was more of to build context in a lot of things that are happening. You know, it's more like an education book. It's not a book that, you know, is about PAC.
Oh, it doesn't start and ends with you.
No. That book is not about me. It's about, you know, building context and perspective. It's not about the party. The book talks about, you know, a lot of things, you know, starting from history, you know, because a number of things that are happening, we don't really understand them. But so we have to go back into history, you know, to dig deep and understand where we're coming from. And that's when we're going to understand. So, you know what, things happen this way and this way and this way. So the book starts from the Berlin Conference of 1884 and covers, you know, quite a bit on the colonial era, you know, in Africa and how that has impacted, you know, Africa until today. You know, it seems like, or it is in fact a fact that we have not disengaged, you know, from the colonial systems, you know, that were, you know, imposed upon the African people, you know, starting in 1884. So the book is called Economic System Dismantling because the systems that we have sustained as a result of colonialism have got an impact on the economy. So that's why we're saying economic system dismantling. We want to dismantle those systems so that we can build new systems that can make Zambia and Africa, you know, I mean, that can make Zambia as a model for African transformation.
What are those systems that you feel that an African country, including Zambia, is still attached to the colonial systems? What are those systems, and how do you suggest in the book we can go about dismantling?
Basically, I mean, in summary, we start with the impact of colonialism. For example, the arbitrary demarcation of Africa, where Africa was demarcated, by the colonialists. You must remember that African countries were not created by Africans, including Zambia itself. These are countries that were created by the colonialists. That's why you find that in Zambia you have Chewas. You also have Chewas in Mozambique. You have Chewas in Malawi, because when the colonialists came, they just came and divided without considering, the cultural and linguistic, boundaries that existed before they came. So that is part of the impact of Africa. So you find that the Chewas, instead of grouping them in one group, some were thrown in Mozambique, others were thrown in Malawi, and then they pushed the other Chewas to live with other tribes in Zambia. So the beginning of the book, actually dwells on where tribalism comes from, and what has been the impact of tribalism, on Africa. It's not just in Zambia; it's a mentality that has been there, in most of African countries. It's basically based on tribe, ethnicity, and religion. You find that in Nigeria, for example, you have a lot of religious, clashes between the Christians and, the Muslims. It's the same with countries like Sudan. You find that you've got Christians, basically Sudan before it was split. South Sudan is a Christian, nation, dominated Christian. I mean, it's dominated by Christians. Then Sudan itself was dominated by, is dominated by Muslims. So as a result of the failure, to actually coexist between the Christians and the Muslims in Sudan before it split, there were a lot of civil wars. So this thing about tribalism, how has it impacted our economy? It has impacted our economy, through the governance, because, people who have sustained that kind of mentality, they believe that they have to continue, supporting people from their tribe, to take key government positions. So the issue is that, it's education that people need to understand, so that they can actually read, the kind of leaders that are leading them, or the kind of mentality of their leaders. So what we're calling for is that if we want to change that, we need to actually dismantle. We need to dismantle that mind, that kind of system, and understand where we're coming from, and that this system is not helping us. It's now time for us to move on, to build a country that, is for everyone. Then we talk about, leadership. African leaders have copied a lot of leadership styles from the colonialists. The colonialists did not want to leave Africa. They wanted to stay in Africa. So when the freedom fighters started fighting for independence, the colonialists resisted, to leave. As a result, they started, creating laws and also arresting a lot of freedom fighters. Some of the laws they are one of the most, common laws that was created was the Separation of Communist Act. For example, in apartheid South Africa, where they banned political parties. So these issues of where you see, even in Zambia and other countries where political parties are destabilized, it's a colonial kind of leadership style that most African leaders, are copied. And again, I'm saying these are things that have happened, not just in Africa. I mean, not just in Zambia, but in most African countries. And that's the reason why, Africa is poor. You find that the arrest of opposition leaders, critics, and stuff like that, this was a colonial leadership style, where colonial powers yielded so much power, and, they were arresting, people because they didn't want to leave, Africa. Then you have, the economic systems as well. The kind of economic systems we are sustaining, where we don't own anything as a country. It was a setup by colonialists. When you talk about things of line of rail and all that kind of thing, those are colonial things. Because these railway lines were built, to actually facilitate the exploitation of raw materials like copper and stuff like that. But we have sustained. We don't own any mines as a country. All we get is taxes. That's not how economies operate. I mean, you've seen what is happening in America, where Donald Trump is trying to push for an American first policy, because if you don't own anything as a country, you cannot develop a country. So when you see poverty around Zambia, you see all these flooding, lack of proper drainages, it's all a makeup of the impact of colonialism. Because if, for example, you are going to give plots in areas which are water recharge areas, and then there's flooding there. If, for example, you're going to give plots where, there are no proper drainage systems, it is all about governance systems. It's because you have allowed people who are probably politically or ethnically aligned to the government to be in charge of things that they don't understand. Then we talk about, the idea that we cannot own and run our economy, because, sometimes when we tell people that, look, why can't we run our own mines so that we can keep the money in Zambia so that we can develop this country? Because for as long as we don't run these mines, the profits that are being made by the mining sector are being repatriated, to their lands, So you understand, that they are developing their countries. I mean, if you look at the mining sector, most of the mines are owned by companies from the US. Cobalt Metals. How is the US? Is it developed or not? It's developed. If you look at Mopani, is owned by a company now from International Resources Holdings from United Arab Emirates. Is UAE developed? Is developed. If you look at KCM, is owned by Indians. Is India developed? Is developed. If you look at it, so you can go through all this, you find that where most of these companies, most of the foreign companies, they come from places where they're developed. You know why? They're developed because they exploit us, because they get the money that's supposed to develop our country to go and develop their countries. So I try to explain the history to that, so that people should understand that, the issue of the failure of the industrialization program in Africa and in Zambia in particular, had nothing to do with whether we Zambians can do these things or not. It had everything to do with the colonialism, So then from there, we bring in, the solutions, where we have to start looking at the mindset, because without learning the truth, we cannot change our mindset. That's what the Bible, which I quote in the book, 1 John 8:2 says, you will know the truth and the truth shall set you free. So I'm trying to bring the truth that I believe that, most people did not learn, in school. In fact, we didn't learn. Most of the things there were not taught to us in school. We have to actually find them out. So I try to compile so that people should understand, why is it that we've had 7 presidents, we can't get anything right, is because we're sustaining wrong structures, which we need to dismantle so that we can be on a road of transformation.
Would you be in a position to point out any African country today that could have could have already realized and are dismantling these systems, colonial systems in Africa today?
Well, I mean, we can't really point at an African country, but you've seen what's happening in the Sahel region, like in Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso, yes,
Yeah,
and now has
here.
decided to extend their route.
You see, that is another story, because everything that we do, it's a copycat of what the colonialists told us. You get the point. What's happening in Burkina Faso right now is that they're dismantling the systems. That's why, when Ibrahim Traore was at John Mahamba's inauguration, he was given the applause by the crowd, because they're saying, this is what we need. This is what we need to do in Africa, because we've been exploited for too long, and other countries like Senegal, they're trying to dismantle those systems by, expelling French forces and all that kind of, but we have not completely decolonized, and it's a process. And when we talk about owning the mines, we're not saying that tomorrow we should own the mines. We should start the process. For example, we should actually stop giving mining license to foreigners. We have enough foreigners running the mines. We should leave whatever is remaining of the minerals underground to Zambians, and we should leverage, because there's the energy transition that's coming, which is going to demand for more copper. So why can't we leverage on that demand, to raise capital and mine our own copper? It's not because we can't do it. It's because the colonialists, during colonial times, Africans were not even allowed to actually engage in skilled labor. It was because of colonialism. It's a mindset that was deliberately, set on us. Even in school, people were going to school. They were not trained to be miners. They were trained to be clerks, or to be laborers, or to be mechanics, or to be artisans. That was a system. And all these were missionary schools, and they were dressed with the, Catholic or with whatever church, so that it should look like they're doing a noble cause, but deep down, these were colonial systems, that were set up to actually depress and, continue the dehumanization of the African people. So in Africa, we are not yet there. We are not yet dismantling the system on a complete basis. But we need to do that. I think we have come to the point of realization. That's the reason why when you look at elections, for example, in the last 1 year, you can see that there's a lot of in Botswana. You saw, South Africa lost majority for the first time. We saw what happened in Ghana itself, where the ruling party lost terribly, with the opposition. Of course, John Mahama is coming back, but he is because he's ready, and the NDC, which was the opposition, got 2/3 majority. You saw the protest in Kenya last year, where the young people were protesting in colonial systems. So we are the things are changing. We're having a new generation of young Africans that wants to see things being done differently. So we have to start doing the dismantling, and the book also helps to tell whether the government that you have today, which is the UPND, is actually sustaining those systems or they're dismantling them.
Are they sustaining?
Sustaining, yes. They're on sustenance.
Great. So
Yeah.
that's much about the book, but obviously, should you be given an opportunity by Zambians that you become the leader of this country, would dismantling be your top on the agenda?
Of course, because it's common sense. If we don't dismantle the systems, for example, if we're going to have a civil service that is littered by cadres, and ethnically, affiliated people, who are not actually appointed on merit, where we don't apply meritocracy, then we're not going anywhere as a country, because that's common sense. Right now, after independence, because there were very few people, who were educated, so it was acceptable that time to say that as long as you got papers, you can get a job. But today you have millions of people with different papers and degrees. So there is need, for actually to put in a system that actually gets people on merit, despite you can have the same qualifications, but the interviews have to be conducted, so that experience and all that, things can be assessed, and people are picked on merit. Now, if you are going to sustain those systems, we can't develop the country. One country that was colonized, which did the right thing from day one, after independence, was Singapore. Where's Singapore today? It's a first world country. So it's not impossible, for us, to develop just because we were colonized. It's possible if we can dismantle those systems. We also need to make sure that, the reason why Zambians are struggling today in this economy is because we don't own the economy. There's no money that remains here. The grown. The government cannot afford to take care of all the 20 million Zambians or over 20 million Zambians. The only way that the government can take care of the 20 million Zambians is by giving them the economy, which is owned by foreigners in most sectors. We're not saying we don't need foreign investors. We need foreign investors, but we have to own a significant stake in the economy, so that those profits that are being taken to develop other countries are kept in-house. Now, if you have a government that is not working towards those things, then we're not moving, we're not going anywhere. You have a government that is arresting people who criticize them. Look at, we have a situation here of Honorable Mumbipiri, who was arrested over an trumped up charges of aggravated robbery. This is a woman who stayed in prison for over a year, for doing nothing, for no case, and then she's slapped with the other charges, and she's in despite the DPP informing the prosecutors that we don't have a case, but and all these are colonial things. This is what the colonialists used to do, is to dehumanize people, so that they can be scared, they can feel less of themselves. So now, if you have a government that is doing these things in 2025, do you think that the country can develop? It can't develop. Because no matter how much you're going to suppress voices, as long as you don't develop the economy, as long as people are not having food to eat on the table, they'll talk, they'll complain. As long as people are not having power, electricity and stuff like that, as long as the culture is weak, as long as they don't own the economy, they will continue to complain. But how many people are you going to arrest because they're talking? How many people? So there's a missed call, with what the UPN government is doing. They're sustaining colonial systems, even from the leadership aspect, where people are being arrested arbitrarily. That's why right now you have United Nations rapporteur in the country, assessing all these things.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that, because, I mean, Madam Irene Khan, like you rightly put it, UN Human Rights Rapporteur is in the country on a more of a fact-finding mission on human rights violations in this country. And again, we know that we are, affiliated to the UN and all, but was this necessary? That
it is
the UN
sign.
conducts that?
It is a sign that the UPND are not doing things correctly. It is a sign. Because if the UPND were doing things correctly, Madam Kani would not be here to come and assess the situation. Why should we assess the situation? Like Wadwala, now Ulwala.
It's possible that there could be a victim that has reported, and then they pick interest.
One victim. I think the government reported a lot of people that were arrested, who that are in jail. Some of them.
Anyway, there was also a report. Anyway,
a
UN report on human rights. Yeah,
exactly. So it's not a good sign. I can tell you that it's not a good sign. I mean, and this is the thing that people voted the PF out for. Arbitrary arrests. Keeping people in jail without any reason. Something that happened to President HH himself, something that happened to Honorable Mwali Teta. He stayed in jail for 1 year, almost on the same charges that are trying to slap, Madam Mpiri. So are you telling me that the UPN are trying to dismantle the system? And if you read the book, there's a chapter 3 in the book which talks about leadership template. You understand where these things come from. They are colonial. It's there. It's history. It's not just in Zambia. It was happening everywhere. And many African leaders have actually copied that template. Now about copying af favorite ama abasungu, favorite treating ama blacks. So kusasenda fefitafine, bamba kushashani, bamba kushta apply na muno Zambia or mu Africa. Eko bafumya ama leaders ba mu Africa. Kale fyambe fyakula ikata abantu. Kale fyambe. So nga tuwashitafe twatwalirira kula ikata abantu. Abantu abadeshita complain pali economy, abantu abaderanda pali over, useless things like seditious. Last week we had Honorable Bino Mpundu in the cells. I mean, where is the UPND taking us? People said, we don't want this. We're giving you a chance to do things better. And then they continue on the same trajectory. And then mademona wati abantu badesekeramo bantu ni ba UPND. Badabadi ba PF, so it's okay. Ba PF, they were not allowed to do these things. But since in my UPND, no, this is not what the people want. People want things to be done better. So we are saying that it's a fact that as things stand today, because this is year 4 of the UPND government, we are on a wrong trajectory. We are on a wrong trajectory. They have not reformed government, to ensure that they're picking people on merit. A lot of politically aligned people littered in parastatals, in government institutions, holding senior government positions. This is not what the people wanted. The people wanted change, and the people were given banawagonga, banawagonga bantu. We're going to do things differently. And then if I complain like this, so someone is writing a report, Andyford Banda is on radio, this is what is complaining. And then you want to start thinking about arresting me. How many people are you going to arrest? You get the point. And this has been happening. The UPND should not think, not when I'm going to change, but the PF, they were arresting people. MMG also tried to do these gimmicks. UNIP tried to do them. Where are they today? So why it's so special about the UPND that if they try to do these things...
So you feel they had an opportunity to do things different?
I don't know if they have an opportunity, because I think they're just beyond redemption. you know, because this is like January. We're going to February in the next week.
But let's talk. I need your opinion or your view on the fact that I think that in the past 3 days, Edgar Chagalungu's Facebook page has been the busiest, taking advantage of Irene Khan's presence in the country, reporting a number of human rights violation incidences. I mean, and people are saying, look who is talking.
Look, we're on record. We condemned that what was happening in PF.
Yeah.
If you go to News Diggers, you know, in Perignata Road there, or if you subscribe to them, you will see the articles that we wrote between 2018 until 2021, where we condemned all these arrests, you know, intimidation of opposition. I was telling somebody that, you know, I need to pull those articles and show the UPND to say this is what we're condemning, and they're doing the same things. You don't want to give permits to opposition to hold rallies, we condemn that. And to a certain extent, we were speaking on behalf of the UPND themselves, because they were the biggest opposition, and they were the people that were suffering the most under these things. We were just, you know, literally campaigning for the UPND in the last election, condemning.
Because they promised the opposite.
Because we did not join the PF and supported the PF to do what they were doing, but we were even if, you know, we were not part of the UPND, but we had one voice in terms of condemning what the PF were doing. So for me, I won't go back and start saying no. President Lungu should not talk. It's okay, let him talk. Let him talk. Even if he did those things, let him talk, because these things are also happening today. You know, and I've seen, you know, a lot of UPND, you know, I mean, a number of UPND supporters, you know, trying to compare, you know, what was happening in PF, you know, posting pictures about pangas, about violence and stuff like that. But the question that is, UPND, is it justifiable, you know, to continue on that trajectory? Is it justifiable? Because the PF were doing it. So now whenever UPND what did it?
Doesn't matter whether you're doing it lesser than they.
Yeah. Naena Paki is some 2026 that, you know, like, let's continue. UPND, PF, wrong. The reason why people bring change is because they want things to be done better. And I think it's a wrong campaign, you know, for the UPND to actually be portraying that it's okay, because even the PF were doing the same thing. This country does not belong to the PF or the UPND. This country belongs to the majority, it belongs to the Zambian people who want a better life, who want to get involved in politics and be able to air their views, you know, to be able to have a free mind, like some of us who have sacrificed so much for this country, you know, trying to keep our minds, you know, independent. Because in this country, Zach, if you are Andyford Banda, you know, a person who does not get into bed with the gun business with the government. So we have automatically cut ourselves from a lot of opportunities in this country for the good of this country, in PF and now. We're not coming from rich families, you know, or we are not sponsored by rich people so that we can sustain this. We are doing this for the good of the country, so that we are hoping that in the near future, hopefully in 2026, we can start afresh as a country on the right trajectory. So it is very disappointing that the UPND should be actually justifying and even saying, no, President Lungu should not talk because he was doing the same thing. We're not talking about what President Lungu was doing. We're talking about what's happening today, which the people said that they didn't want. Obvious Maliteta was jailed in 2021 for 1 year. People said, we don't want people to be, you know, treated like this unfairly. President Hakainde Hichilema was jailed for over 100 days. The people said, we don't want this in our country. We want things to be done differently. What happened to Mombipiri and a whole lot of other people that are being arrested on trumped up charges and humanizing a woman? You know, who has already suffered enough. You know, uluse. teti katushinga nechipamba chira mfuka kokumansa
Hmm.
teti abantu bakwata kufyoluse yakwati babaleka, she's already been in jail for over a year, and then you take her again and you want to keep her in jail. This is the same thing. That's why people say no, you should not defend JJ. It's not about defending JJ. It's about the motives of the things that people are trying to do. If people are doing something wrong, we need to condemn the wrong. We are condemning the wrong. You want to give people these charges of aggravated robbery because you know what? You don't want them to come out of jail. For the first time in this country, people who are being convicted from the magistrate, they're not given bail. Most of these political, people, because it was just common sense that you're convicted by a magistrate or any other lower court. You apply for bail, pending appeal, so that you can appeal. But what is happening today under the UPND? They're being kept in prison because they don't want those people to continue talking. That's the basic point here.
So, in short, you're saying that the UN Human Rights Rapporteur, who is in the country, is basically picking out these things that you are mentioning. One has a legal right to bail,
of course,
and they can't get it. Is that also a point of human rights violation?
It is a point of human rights violation. But obviously, because our laws are so weak, they're not clear. People tried to twist these same laws, to suit their agendas. I'm telling you, this is what's happening. So, what we're saying is that people want things to be done better, but whatever I think to show differently. That's the reason why they kicked out the PF in 2021. That's why we campaigned against the PF. And when we're talking here, we're talking because we have not eaten anything from the government. We're just, patriotic Zambians who want a better Zambia, for not just for us, but for our children. Look at what has happened in the energy sector. I say this is not an accident. It's because we failed to make the right decisions at the right time. We let political decisions take precedence. And this is what we keep doing. All these arrests, lack of reforms in government, lack of, restructuring of the economy is because of corruption and politics. And that's what we're saying. Let's dismantle. Enough is enough. Let's dismantle. Time for dismantling. And if the people that are in government, they don't get this, that's the reason why when they go on radio, they say, no, we have achieved 80% of what we came to do. I'm saying, look, guys, you don't understand what you came to do then. Because people are suffering. Drainages are everywhere. There's debt in town. These are things that were there. Farmers are not getting their inputs properly. You cannot, as a country, just say, no, CDF. Can a country run on CDF? The country can't run on CDF. That's just $1 million in a constituency of probably, almost 200,000 people. I mean, if you include children, because some constituencies like Mnali, maybe probably has got 120,000 voters registered. There are people that are not registered. There are children there. There are other people that are not, eligible to vote. So you are saying that we should be clapping, for just putting $1 million, in a constituency of over 100,000 people. This is like, $1 million, $1 million in a population that is 10% of, Botswana. Are you seeing the gist there? Population of Botswana or Namibia. So we need to start thinking. We need to start aiming for more. People, we are meant to be, poor, because that's how we live in this country. I mean, songa government sana. The DPP, says no, this Madam Mpira team, they're not supposed to be charged for this case. No, let's clap for the president. Why should we clap for the president? These things should not have happened in the first place if the president was serious. So the UPND must know that their time is coming as well. Everyone has thought that, our time will not come. Time comes. Okay, even if it's not 2026, fine, but your time is going to come someday, and you have to account for the things that you're doing. You have to account. The PF, it looks like yesterday when the PF won elections in 2011. You remember, Zach? It looks like yesterday. They're already out of government 4 years. It will be 4 years this year. But it looks like yesterday when the PF won election. So sometimes when people get into government, they become so comfortable thinking that, okay, they can actually manipulate the system, to sustain their stay. Just like the colonialists were trying to maneuver systems. They would create laws. These are the by-elections you're seeing because they want to change laws so that they can sustain. These have been tried by the colonialists themselves. They were powerful, they had guns. Africans didn't have anything. They were running administrations where they had absolute control. There was no democracy, but they still left. So what's so special about the UPND? There's nothing special, and they're dealing with a very delicate voter base. The young people of today, they are very, they use common sense. You can't cheat them.
Andyford Mayele Banda is our guest, People's Alliance for Change president. And of course, we've discussed also about his recently published book, Economic Systems Dismantling, Why Zambia Can Be the Model for African Transformation. And we will soon be opening the phone lines on 0955-221515 for your participation in our conversation this morning. And of course, we've also discussed on the political aspect of how things are going politically. But let me bring you into the picture of the fact that we have by-elections coming. How is PAC positioning itself? Are you in any way participating in the forthcoming by-elections? If not, why not?
First of all, people need to understand that the People's Alliance for Change, PAC, has been around for 9 years.
Right.
From the time that we launched, actually, we clocked 9 years on the 10th of January 2025. So by 2026 will be 10 years. We have participated in these elections, a lot of them. We did participate in the general election of 2016, where I was the presidential candidate, and I came out number 4. After that, we got on a trajectory of participating in by-elections to learn, and also to strengthen our structures and our party. So we started with local government elections in Nyimba, what was that, in Sinda, also Chiwuyu Ward. Then we went into other by-elections across the country. We did the Lusaka Mearo. You remember, we had Mnjam Kuwesa Peterson as our candidate. We went to Kasenengwa, we went to Sesheke, we went to Ron, we went to Lukasha in Kasama, we went to Chulubi Island, Bahati, and Chulubi Island again. So we have done a lot of these elections. Then we went into the general elections, and then we came out number 4. So we believe that we have, the experience that is needed, to actually run an election. So now, why are we not participating? First of all, after 2021, first we decided to take a small break to just breathe, because we were very busy, between 2016 and 2021. And these things are quite expensive. You can't just be running. And like I've told you, we don't have Kasaka Kandalam. We have to put resources together and to do these things and stuff like that. And in Zambia, it's not like in America where people contribute small money towards a cause. Here you have to actually go beg people, to help you with this fuel and stuff like that. So we said, Talema, Pempa. From 2016 until 2021, we were asking contributions from a number of people who graciously, helped us. But we said, okay, we don't want to also strain the people that are helping us. So that in Africa 2025, as we go towards elections, we can, ignite the engine again and start moving. And the other issue is that, so basically, we are not losing anything as things stand.
If you don't participate.
Yeah, we're not losing anything because we already end that experience, On the other hand, of course we would want to win, but we know how by-elections happen. You see, all these things of Madam Mumbipiri being in prison is because of by-elections, because there's all these corruption, open corruption by the government, giving people money and stuff. We don't have that kind of money to just be giving people. We have the message because we want to improve the people's life. In fact, even when we were participating in by-elections, we were coming out number 3 most of the time. And this was the time when we were competing with PF and UPND, yeah, of course they were stronger than us, but we could actually be there, and our message would be more superior than anything, because these people are used to, using their power to give out things, handouts and stuff like that. But we were there, with a message. Now, so we have the experience, and we don't think that it is wise for us to waste money to just go and show presence where we already have experience, and then where you have in maybe 5 other opposition political parties, which obviously gives an advantage to the ruling party, because you're splitting the votes. If you look at Kawamba, parliamentary, if you add the opposition votes there, they got more votes than the ruling UPND. So we also don't want to be responsible for the UPND to get 2/3 majority in parliament. We believe that the splitting of votes is handing the UPND that 2/3 majority in parliament, and we don't want to be part of that responsibility. And that's the reason why we don't want to participate. So we must most likely, unless not for the general election, unless the opposition agree, some initiatives that we've tried to do in the background to say, look, let's get the strongest opposition to participate, or to have a rotation system. You get the point? So that we should go with one voice. But everyone wants to be the big guy, so let them go ahead. For us, we are focusing on 2026, and from now onwards, going into the future, you hear more about us and our plans and our mobilization, and our strong message to the people, because we believe that there's no message at the moment in this country. There's no hope, for the people. Even if people say that, okay, we're going to vote next year, they're going to vote for what? There's no hope. So we want to be the hope. We want to give them the message, the plan. Whether it's a bus driver, ni marketeer, ni farmer, it's an employee, it's a job seeker, it's an entrepreneur. Small businesses prefer kumipera message, because not everyone is going to read the book. The people that can read the book, they can see, the proposals, taking from history and putting in what has happened in Zambia itself, and putting the proposal of how we should do, clear cut. So those that can buy the book, they can find the books in Book World, and a BM Gospel store here at Levy. Those that can buy. Others, if there are those that are outside the country, they can get the book on Amazon and Apple bookstores. If you can read and spread the message. But we have to take this message to see bamaketia inga twamikwatira mapange yashani, inga bafama twamikwatira mapange yashani, inga ba bus driver, ba taxi driver tumikwatira mapange yashani, inga imwe baraninga tuma small businesses amapange yalishani, inga you people who are employed and are not getting enough money, or you're not being treated well, you're not being looked after. What plans do we have for you? So we have we have a plan now to actually take this message to the masses, and we believe that so far the People's Alliance for Change, like always, they were the best plan for this country.
Well, there you have it. And of course, let's at this point invite our listeners. We'll take your phone calls on 0955221515. My guest is Andyford Mayele Banda. He is People's Alliance for Change party president, and recently he published the book Economic Systems Dismantling: Why Zambia Can Be the Model for African Transformation. We delved into it just to grasp what is in it, and then we got into the politics. Let's see if we can get more politics around from our listeners. Good morning. Welcome to the Burning Issue.
Thank you so much. This is Moses. Good morning, Wazaki and the president.
Good morning, Moses. Thank you very much for calling. Please go ahead.
Yeah, our president, I think as citizens, we are not happy for what is going on in the country, especially we see a lot of intimidation targeted at you, leaders who are aspiring to lead this country. This is a democracy, and you must be allowed, as a citizen, your ideas, how you feel that you can govern better than the UPNB. We are tired of these things that going on in the country. We've seen this thing why we even Malita was arrested and so on. That's the reason why the PF was kicked out of power. So I think that if we allow these things to go on, then we are going to kill this democracy. It's not good because you're also human beings. When these things are going on, you've got feelings, you've got families, and wives will be able to advise you. Mandi wakakumangani Andyford Banda as a family it is Ankala Bwanji, the fear in job. There is that fear in you. We don't want that kind of thing. So that's why we voted for UPND. And our president from the beginning, his first message before he was inaugurated, gave us a lot of inspiration as a country when he said, my administration will be different. And we said, here is a leader. But the system has not changed. Yeah? People are still behaving the same way they used to behave in the MMDPF. I think that there has to be a strong message from the president. And if some people have to be dropped and repressed because they are failing to pass his vision, let it be so. We are listening, Mr. President. Don't fear, please, with these things that are going on. We love you. We want to listen from you, our leaders, as we go towards the 2026. We want to judge clearly who has got the clear mandate for this country so that we vote from an informed decision, not from giving us details and handouts and so on, and by singing forward. No, we don't want that kind of a thing. We are listening. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Moses, for coming through and for making your contribution on 0955-221515. That's the number you can get us on. You too, if you would like to be a part of this conversation. Let's take this one. Good morning.
Morning. How are you, Mr. Moderator?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you? And please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, my name is Philemon, calling you from Chitulika, Zambia.
Yes, Philemon, please go ahead.
Good morning, Bwana President there.
Good morning, Mr. Philemon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year too.
Mm-hmm.
We are listening. And allow me at this same juncture to completely disagree with you for misleading the nation, misinformation. Coming to the rule of law, you, my opposition, you've got latitude, freedom in each and every radio station, dwarfing, ridiculing the head of state. You're not directed. And the new Dawn government hasn't even shut down any radio station. In those days, under your colleague, Mr. Lung, the way you are talking about there could have been cadres waiting for you. Now, this time we are enjoying this freedom. There is media freedom in this country. Human rights are respected all over. We can cite a very good example. If you can recall, there was a pastor just at the airport there. He was chased back by the cadres that are Sangeno Muzambia. Now here is an entourage coming from United Nations, coming to assess whether this country is enjoying human rights or not. But they have been allowed just for that. That entourage thanked the government to say, we are seeing that there is transparency. Thank you for giving us a welcome. During Mr. Rungu, that entourage was not going to be allowed. They could have been turned back by airport. Now I'm urging my opposition that you should stop fomenting conflicts where there is peace. In this country, Zambia, under this current regime, they have won a lot of awards, accolades from international communities. They say there is growing democracy, human rights. You surely my opposition going to the extent of writing fake letters, putting your dent in your country. This country is going to be given my sanctions. What next? What are you going to benefit? Because if this country is going to be given my sanctions on falsehood, the people who are going to suffer are yourselves. Imagine ourselves for Zimbabwe are poor. They are going under my sanctions because of careless government there. So
thank you, Philemon. Thank you, Philemon.
Yeah, in conclusion, Mr. Moderator, under 5 seconds, I'm urging you, my opposition, that You should manage the way you conduct your politics. This time, the rule of law is followed to the larger distribution of resources.
Thank you, Philemon. We'll take some more on 0955-221515, and that's the number you can get us on if you'd like to be a part of this. Our guest is Andyford Mayele Banda. He is People's Alliance for Change PAC party president, and we've discussed quite a number of issues. Unless you would like to react so far.
I think let me react.
Yeah, please.
First of all, I'll start with Mr. Philemon. Mr. Philemon,
Right.
You're not going to waste our time in 2025. You can call your leaders and praise them. We are not going to waste time. If you think that you can call a radio station and week, and I don't expect anything from you, Mr. Philemon. I've been talking to you for years. I don't expect anything. You should try to change your propaganda. The young people, maybe they're not even listening to you right now. They're on Facebook and they see what's happening. Propaganda is outdated. Trust me. And I'm just giving you advice. So that you should discuss. Within your group where you say UPND callers of radio stations. This propaganda is outdated. You're not going to waste our time. Even people know it's stale. You know what? Do you know the word stale? It's tasteless. So you can call this radio station. I'm not even going to waste my time answering to you because that is what you're paid to do. Now I'm going to answer Mr. Moses. What Mr. Moses has said is very important. He has actually broken down about the issues of democracy. Democracy is a right. There's a reason why democracy is there in this country. It's because people must have the right to choose their leaders. Now, this is another that Mr. Moses said. They want to choose leaders from where? An informed position. Now, if you're arresting opposition, you're not giving them platforms to actually, express themselves. How are we actually sustaining that right for the people who are supposed to actually listen to everyone? We must have the right to speak to people, whether it's in Kanyama, whether it is in Nakadoli, or it's wherever we want to go. Now, if you're going to put, police cadres in this to stop us from talking, then you are stamping actually on the rights of the people. This, I said, even in a PF, when we were being stopped, from actually engaging with the people. Where is the PF today? They are not there. So people are seeing what is happening. So we need to protect this, and it's true. Other people that are weak, they'll be like, you know what? Let me just stop this because it's going to affect my family. These are the risks that we actually carry with as we carry this work. Because look at again. I want to emphasize on Madam Mumbipiri. Look at the impact on her family, her children and her grandchildren, her husband. You understand? It's not nice. Dehumanizing by other human beings, other citizens, dehumanizing another person, and a woman for that matter. No, she's a strong woman, and I must commend her. And I'm actually, I don't know if it's correct. Someone has sent me a text that she's at home, and I hope she's listening. Madam Mbipiri, we're with you, and just stay strong. You're a strong woman and a good example to a lot of young people. Your belonging to PF must not be, a conviction forever, where people should be hating you just because you belong to a political party. It's your right. It's a democracy that we voted for in 1991. People can belong to PF, to PAC, to UPN, wherever they want. Why should people be, demonized for belonging to a certain political party or being active? So, Madam Pili, just be strong. This woman was in jail for 1 year. And this is what, we are potential people, all of us. Anything, they're looking for a fort. How do you have people in government who think like that? Because now we are in charge of the system, so we can use the system to do this with the system. The system, do you own the system? That system belongs to the people of Zambia. And that's the reason why even the people that were there before, who are actually being proud to say we're in charge of the system, the system is actually working against them. So you should watch out, because the time is running. It's already 4 years. Next year's elections, you might not even be there to actually be proud of the same system that you're abusing. So the point that Mr. Moses has brought about is very important. And we appreciate the encouraging words, from Mr. Moses to all the opposition leaders out there that, we need to be strong, and we're still dealing with a colonial mentality of leaders, that want to actually get people arrested, want to actually enact laws. You saw that the Penal Code Amendment of 2024, so that people should not condemn maybe issues of tribalism. They'll be, in jail for 20 years. they should not actually, temper, or report things from if the people are tempering things, because they'll be arrested for so many years. We cannot continue on that trajectory. What we need to be enacting laws is how do we ensure that the banks are giving, are supporting small businesses? What laws have we put in place? That banks are actually supporting small businesses. Banks are supporting rural farmers. We need to start enacting laws to ensure that rural farmers, are getting titles so that they can get loans, from the banks. We are perpetuating poverty in the rural areas because we have allowed a system where, people in the rural areas are only working with what? With the, with traditional land, where a bank cannot administer that, cannot put, a caveat on that land. And that poverty is growing in those areas. If you look at the commercial farmers, they have titles. They are able to walk into a bank. So even when you see these banks saying, no, we are supporting farmers, they're not supporting the rural farmers. They're supporting the commercial farmers. People are already doing well and rich. That's why the Zambia Statistics Agency says that in rural areas, the poverty level is at 78% because of the systems that we are talking about and we need to dismantle. So now, the point that we're trying to say is that these are things that we should focus our attention on, not only arresting opposition. Now, if you have a people in government that are insecure, and they want to focus on arresting people, then we have a problem.
We'll take some more calls on 0955-221515. And let's, before we go to Facebook for more comments, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. Thank you for calling. Your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Mwamba calling within the circle. Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Mwamba.
No, just ignore those. Because I've never seen a situation in Zambia ever since I was born. Citizens are subjected to. A citizen stays in Karingaringa, Kabanana, goes to Chamba Valley to go and line up in the military ballot to go and line up for a minimum. That is a 25 minimum. That is happening. You can go there. Anytime munga Chamba Valley mukatuke mukambe kufunza wanwani wonkara kuti muzambira inenchazanga Karingaringa Ngombe, is that good? Then a person can phone a radio station to say everything is okay. No, just be strong, my president. We are behind you. Things are not well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Bamwam. Right. I've got some messages on Facebook. Let me start with Mulumbeni Chirwa. So Mulumbeni Chirwa says, thank you, sir, for the encouraging message. It's really a message of hope. It's true. The decolonization of our mindset is key for development. This beautiful country, we are behind you. I hope that the youth are listening to you. This is a refreshing message for. Please say something on the current state of cost of living in our country. And to add salt to the wound, we are highly taxed by our own government. When we actually have a high unemployment, we can't even do business in our country. This in our own country, is that fair? We are even failing to break even, and yet ZRA are chosen to punish us. In 2026, you have my vote, sir. All right, and that is Mr. Chirwa. Let's go to Joseph Banda. Joseph Banda says, Mr. Banda, our park president, well-spoken. Let's be strong. Zambia is for us all. Please share your number. Please, Mr. President, time is not with us. Mr. Zach, sir, I want the number for Mr. President. Thank you very much. I'm sure Mr. President will be able to give his number at the end of the program on how you can get in touch. Otherwise, let me pick the next call. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Bwino Mwaoka Banda, let me speaking.
Bwino Mwaoka imwe. Ndimandani mtumira kuti.
Chavo, Hatembo Opson.
Atimandani?
Hatembo Opson is my name.
Hatembo.
Or HH, you can call me like that.
Hatembo, yes, please. Hatembo.
You know, good morning, Mr. Andyford Banda.
Good morning, Mr. HH. So you
yes,
say.
sir.
No, it's the same way you can call me. I'm well known for that name, but not HH the president. No, I have triple H on my name.
To home,
So,
Go ahead.
Sir, let me say this. When you are talking there, we are listening. Me personally, I am listening. Even somebody else is listening. For me personally, I want a strong opposition. An opposition that has got solutions for everything that is being messed up by this government. The way it has been from Kaunda. We had Chiluba next. He gave solutions. He did not only cry, but he gave solutions. Me, I'm going to do this once you vote with him. From Chiluba, there came Nganawasa. We had Michael Sata waiting for longer. And now we have Edgar Garung also came. Every leader we remove for reasons that people know. And we bring in another one. So you people in the opposition, for me, I don't hear any solutions that you are having for this nation. For instance, from the time that you have been there, I didn't hear you say you are going to repeal the Public Order Act. You remove this law, say this and this and this. And that's what you are supposed to do. I haven't heard you. Someone just called in now that people are queuing for Milimi. Who can go and queue for Milimi from Utawama to Chazanga? Those people are the ones whose Milimi is being confiscated, some of them. You see, they are buying that Milimi and the report was given. We heard it. They are buying and reselling. You see? So what are you going to do? Are you going to abolish the ZNS program? What are you going to do? To bring at least a keeper Milimi. That's what I want. Currently, we are fighting for road shedding. There is road shedding here. What are you going to do to finish road shedding? You want to develop this nation. What policies are you going to bring for this nation to develop? What taxes are you going to abolish? And what taxes are you going to introduce? Those are the things that I want to hear myself. Not all these. How many opposition leaders have been arrested? Have you been arrested? Have you been? Yes, the former party. How many of the living people that are 4 or 5 they go and speak? No, I was there when this person, and I know what happened. Do you think the police will leave you? You have evidence, you have already declared. They will come on you. No, Maisa Mareto Bututu from Wembo. Is that talking? Are you trying to divide us Zambians? I don't want to talk about tribes. We are 72 tribes in this nation. No tribe is famous about others. No. I want a credible opposition that is going to talk what ZNBC will be doing to cover everyone. Southern province, what am I going to do? Wapura province, Mongo, Eastern and Western, unity of purpose, and what are you going to do to unite the leadership? Starting from traditional leaders of this state. Not those cries you are saying on radio. No, this one has been jailed. She's a woman. How many women political parties are there? What about Sharakateka has she been detained? What's your language also, opposition? You don't show bitterness on radio. Speak what you are going to do to the people. If you listen to Hyde Hamud, even Antonio Maran, the way he's talking now, he's talking mature. I've been following Antonio Man. That things on radio now, since he formed the political party, you can get 1 or 2 things from that. You get what I'm saying?
Thank you very much, Atembo. We
so
appreciate
much.
for coming through. Thank you. Right. So I've got Henry Mavimba, just the last one, so that you can add to your response. Henry Mavimba on Facebook says 2 things came to mind during President Trump's inauguration. First, tariffs on China will reduce our export of raw materials from Zambia to China, hence reduced export earnings. 1. 2, pulling out of World Health Organization will have terrible health consequences on Zambians. What plans can you advise the government in the work of policy change in America? What can we do with our resources to ramp up our revenue so that we don't depend on donor support? So I'll let you respond, plus Mwamba and Hatembo's contribution.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, yeah. So, Mr. Mwamba, as you can see today, if you ngamamona this inonshita, I want to line up for ZNBC. I mean, at ZNBC.
ZNS.
ZNS Millennium.
Yeah.
We should not be lining up. So you need to actually connect the dots. The reason why people are lining up is because the poverty levels in the rural areas are quite high. They're at 78%. Now, the people that are supposed to be giving us midday meal, it's the poor people that we're not supporting. Okay? We need to support those farmers, those rural farmers. If we can reduce the poverty levels, for example, by half in the rural areas by giving extension services to the rural farmers, by giving them adequate inputs, and fertilizers on time, supporting them with irrigation systems so that they can actually grow maize even outside, the rain season. You will see this mini meal. No one will line up, for this mini meal because there will be plenty. The reason why people are lining up because this is the only cheap mini meal that is there, and because we are not producing more. Now, if we produce more, almost all the millers who buy mini meal, will sell mini meal at a cheaper price. So people don't need to do what? To line up. But we're not focusing on that. Instead of actually working with ZNS the way it is today, they have ZNS Mtetes. They have, in big concession there in Mumbwa. There's ZNS in the rural part of Mumbwa there. There are farms and there are also rural farmers there. We need to start, connecting ZNS to the rural farmers and create them as outgrowers. Help them, give them extension services, let them improve their yields. Because right now farmers are producing about 2.6 tons. Like before the drought, they were producing 2.6 tons per 1 hectare. Well, commercial farmers were producing 10 tons per hectare. So the job of ZNS is not to start, running a security company or running a block making company or trying to start exploration in mining. No. The specialization of ZNS is food production. So now in food production, they can actually work with rural farmers. If you look at the Kalea Small Holdings, model, it is because of extension services that Kalea Smallholders gives to those sugar farmers, the cane farmers. Now, we don't do that, to the rural farmers. We just let them do things as they happen. We are, to the rural farmers, we just let them do things as they happen. We are losing water because we don't put water harvesting mechanisms, and we are climate change where farmers will need to have mechanized to get engaged in mechanized agriculture. With that, they will need more support because they need to learn how to, to run the drip irrigation, to manage the bore, to connect, the poly pipes where there is need and maintenance of those equipments. So that is a job that actually ZNS, needs to get engaged into now. Now, if ZNS gets engaged into that, you find that, we are going to start producing more, because they're going to create these farmers as outgrowers, and then the cost of minimum is going to go down because there'll be enough supply on the market. But also, let's not be mistaken, we should not be making losses. Farmers must make a profit, okay? But we need to help them to produce more. That should be the starting point. Now, this, ZNS minimum, it's actually, it's okay. It's helping people, but it's not sustainable. The government is subsidizing part of this. Subsidies are not helping the country. We need to make sure that we put in systems that helps the country run, efficiently. So now, when it comes to Mulumbani Chirwa, Mr. Chirwa, he's talking about, thank you so much for saying of refreshing messages. It's about the taxes. A government cannot just rely on taxes. We have to build revenue. How do you build revenue? We have to own the economy. We need to keep as much money as possible in the economy. That is what we need to do. We need to help the farmers. When the farmers are producing more, they're going to increase their revenues. They are going to increase their income. And then they're going to buy more things. They're going to boost the economy. And the ZRA is going to collect more. Now, if the 78% poor farmers are not able to actually spend, that's the reason why ZRA is under pressure. So the only way that they can actually raise income is by increasing what? Taxes, and putting all these stringent measures, some which don't even make sense. I'll give you an example. My friend went to buy an air ticket at an airline, and he was told that he needs to come up with a tip-in. Now, why should you go to buy an air ticket and you have to produce a tip-in? is, yes, ZRI should actually, put things, but these things don't matter, because I mean, air tickets are bought in various ways. For example, if a person can buy for you an air ticket in South Africa or in Europe or wherever, you don't need to produce a tip-in, or you can actually get money in your pocket and say, but if I tip in now, let me send money to South Africa. You buy for me a ticket. Let me not waste time. What we're just trying to say is that we are not discouraging ZRI from ensuring that they make sure that the system is not porous, but they need to put sensible, measurement to make sure that, as they're collecting taxes, these things, the measures that they're putting in place, they're sensible. So the only way that we can actually increase our income as a country is by owning the economy. There's no any other way. We need to start reversing these colonial systems where 90% or 95 or even 98% of our economy is foreign owned, in the banking sector, mining, in the agriculture sector, where we should actually have a lot of control. We're not doing enough. That's why we have 78% of rural people that are poor. So we need to do that. Manufacturing is not owned by Zambians, and you can name them, tourism. So all these profits that are made, which are supposed to remain in Zambia, are being repatriated to develop other countries. If you go to America, they've got a lot of companies that are owned by Americans, where they're making money in America and investing in America. They've also invested outside the country, where they're importing profits so that they can develop their country. Which country in the world does Zambia have companies where they're importing profits, where those companies are repatriating profits from there? Nowhere. So we need to start reversing these things if we want to develop as a country. Yeah, so Mr. Banda, thank you. Mr. Hatimo Hobson, my solutions are not to reduce, but we have to actually address the issues. Don't make it look like, we don't have solutions. We have solutions. We've been providing solutions for a long time, but we're not going to ignore the arrest of the opposition because Mr. He had Tembo Hobson wants us to just talk about solutions. We need to, these things, like I mentioned, they have an impact. Governance has got an impact on how an economy is going to operate. That's what we have to condemn. People must have the right to speak their mind. And if a government is operating properly, must listen to the people. But if you're going to start arresting people, that, are speaking their mind, then you are actually impacting governance. So I'm not going to go through all these things, like, what is the solutions. I think I've given you some of the solutions in reducing poverty in the rural areas. We need to give extension services. We need to make sure that farmers have got, adequate, inputs and support and all that kind of thing. Mr. Mavimba, Henry Mavimba.
Yeah.
So, that statement by Donald Trump actually has, if we had a leadership with a foresight, we should have had changed a lot of things already, because the world is changing. Populations are growing. Even developed countries like America, they don't have enough resource to take care of their people. That's the reason why you are seeing them going with the America First policy, because the only way you can take care of your people is by protecting your own resources first. Now, if you're going to auction mines to foreigners, you auction your resources, even agriculture is being run by, foreigners, you cannot develop a country. So this is a wake-up call, for us as Zambia and as Africa, to make sure that we focus on us first. Make sure we start owning the economy. The economy must be owned by Zambians. We want to see billionaires in Zambia running mines. We want to see billionaires, multimillionaires, running the manufacturing. Zambians, indigenous Zambians running these things. We cannot just develop a country by having one or two rich people. We need to have a lot of rich Zambians running the tourism sector, the mining sector. We need to have Zambians more outside Copper Belt Energy Corporation owning power stations. We need to own the economy. That is a solution. Now, when we own the economy, it comes back to another issue that you brought, Mr. Mavimba, of the World Health Organization, where, the America has put out of the World Health Organization, which I think, if arguably, they're one of the biggest funder, to that organization. And, they may not actually be giving a lot of money to poor countries. But the question is that why do developed countries like America give money to poor countries like Zambia is because we don't own the economy. We're being exploited. So they get all the profits and send them back in form of aid. So now, the reason why if you go to a hospital today, you don't find the medicine is two things: economic systems and political system. Political system in the sense that corruption. Corruption, there's when you're employing people that are politically affiliated and when they're corrupt, you pay a blind eye to that corruption. So you're not fighting corruption to the core. If you remember, the corruption in the Ministry of Health has been there like forever, because it's like that's where most of these governments chew money from. Okay. Even today, under the UPND, there's been so many scandals. Even yesterday, there was a story about one of the officers there. But it's not enough. We need to do more. Then the political system is because we are not generating enough money as a country. So the government, in as much they cannot come out in the open, they don't have enough money to buy medicines. In as much as the little money is being stolen, the government still does not have enough money. So for us to have enough money to put in these hospitals, in these clinics, we need to own the economy so that we keep as much money as possible within the economy. That is when the economy is going to start moving. So in 2026, Nkanyo Zivik.
I'll take the last batch of phone calls on 0955-221515. Good morning.
Good morning, my moderator.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. Your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Jaris Yankwede. I'm calling you from Kanyama constituency, Makenville.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mayele Banda, my president.
Gabot Mawatu Adara, Buchikumanda.
Banda,
Charumba.
Yeah, choyambirira Mayele Banda, nizasenzesa chinyanja so that at least. Choyambira nifuna nizive nanga maofesi yano yali kuti. Nifuna niziveko kuli maofesi yano at least so that if ebo join maybe if no join ako opposition na bwera kulimwe na bwera state forces. Then number 2 Mayele Banda mwani dabwisa pamene bezi batuma phone aba bamene bachoka apo ba Filimon makamba kuti tamuyandi kuti makozi amushovo losi that person is belong to the ruling party. Mweya kuti Mayele Banda mbani vantu vayo muvotera kuti kamukaka mavoti. Mweredeto wakamuziva Mayele Banda kuti oyu muntu ndi vote. So now whatever nchavuzya amuchita accept. Mayele Banda yanda umujoshia musure. Iyi sijakalonongegede amakana ba PF. So batamugonji uti gamu defenders ntuze mubona uti ba PF bakali kulindira mulimbo mukede omo mukati mu studio bakali kulindira anze sijakali kuchitika abantu bakali kumwa me am one of them a victim for the PF. So zimwe pamba straight ampoje ndera chitendera ali kabotu now mulago njakwenda town freely. So zimwe zintu katulanga kuti mpoka chitakabotu katwamba kuti vachitakabotu va UPND government vachitakabotu kuti zimwe chose zimanga balakwanisa kuti vatachitikabotu so Mayele Banda turomboja kuti akube strong opposition muzambia muno otherwise kuti nakamukaka mavoti nakamukaka abantu kuti because they are belong to ruling party then kunyina nkomuyinka so amuziveira kuti amuri bunge kabotu kabotu. So Mayele Banda twarumba bamuindirija ikubandikira igovernment iliko kamuchitaka kuti check and balance. Twarumba moderator kutetera Mayele Banda.
Twarumba.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Mr. Siangwede. So let me take some more on 0955-221515. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Thank you. And your name and where are you calling us from, ma'am?
Thank you very much. Before I mention my name, good morning, President. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you, ma'am?
I'm very fine. I'm Sister Soma calling you from Kawe.
Okay.
Mrs. Kasoma, we are grateful once again for calling and welcome back.
Thank you very much. I've been following, although I came a bit late, but I followed what I've just heard from you.
Right.
Indeed, thank you very much. I'm following you, more especially on the issue of Zambia being a poor country. Zambia is not a poor country, but for our minerals. And the only problem which we have is that we export raw materials, as you have correctly said it. By so doing, we are not getting some profit from there because the material is raw. And then the other thing which I am trying to see is that if only these investors who are coming, they can be paying back to the community, the social corporate responsibility. If it is given back to the community where they are doing their investment, especially these people who are doing mining, if only they can be paying back to that community. Because if you look at, I'll cite an example. I'm coming from Kawe here. We have got some investors here along the which road they do their investment. I don't know, whatever they do, the minerals they get from there. But the fact is that the road is very bad. The MP Kawe Central, she graded the road, but because of these investors, the road again this time rain season they are impassable, their potholes all over. So if only the government should come with some policies of giving to these investors who are coming, so that when they come in our country, they should also pay back to the community where they are getting that money from. So, Mr. Mayele Banda, I'm happy that you are heading a political party. So if you come into operation, sir, please can we see that these people are given some, there should be some policies attached to wherever they are mining from, let us benefit from them. Instead of them getting out all resources, minerals, they go and leave the open ditches. And do you know what they do, these people when they come? Mama kumba kumba, you go, there are so many gods around there. Around Mulungush Road, Madam Dam. They don't even bury those, meaning even the indigenous Zambians, they will never use that place anymore. They cannot do farming, they cannot even build a house. Could even go to Mugod. So this is where we are saying, let them be given the policy they should follow to say, if you have done the mining in this area, when you are leaving, please make sure that you leave the place as you found it. And then on the rule of law, Mayele Banda, I think sometimes, when Maunela, the law is just following those who are, but because if you look at some of the people have never appeared into any court, not even a police station. Why is it that some of the people, they are frequently, so the thing is, us the political players should at least, and what we are saying is that, yes, we agree. UPND government, there are some of the things, they have not done excellent, but there are some of the things which have done. For example, look at the skills, the recruitment of teachers, the recruitment of health people. Look at this CDF which has come, although it has got some little things, but people have benefited from there. So, sir, when you come in also, I would love to say you continue from, if at all, you'll be given a chance. But as the matter is now, politicians, not especially the parties, your parties, should be very organized. Because looking at the 2026 is just around the corner. I don't think there will be a party which is going to fight 88 if you are not going to organize. Because the 88 so far, he has got no serious opposition party. So I'm happy the way you are coming out. It's good that the information is going out. So that we want a strong opposition party. We don't want a single party again. We want multipartyism to continue in Zambia so that at least we want checks and balances. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kasoma, for your valued contribution, like always. We appreciate. Now, that will be my last call.
Okay.
My last caller. Let's get into reactions, and then we can proceed and conclude.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, Basangwede. Chindambira so abafirimon chaguti. I've been on radio, Jindi Jirangu Maningi. I think for me, I'm a revolutionalist. We need to be realistic. We need contribute to my topics. Agwasha GC. Tandiandi gusowaji pali propaganda. Propaganda politics yagamanaga inti. Watu degwishita addressi into jishita affect abantu. Ko mukara gumamba uti mukara goganyama mulabona poverty. Next, where you stay there, that is poverty. I'm not trying to look down, because we need to talk about things, correctly if we have to find solutions. People are suffering in Kanyama. So are you telling me that people should be wicking other people to know government is too? No. We have to start finding solutions, real solutions that are going to help, people in Kanyama. And the things that we're talking about, they're not things that cannot be done. China was a very poor country, with so much poverty, just like what you're seeing in Kanyama there. There's no Kanyama in China. You know why? Kanyama was there in China, but there is no Kanyama now because the right decisions were made. Dubai, United Arab Emirates, was a desert. The desert is still there for tourism, but go there. It is a different place today. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves is that, is this where we have ended as Zambia? Can we be like China or United Arab Emirates or Qatar? Can we transform? The question is yes. This brings me to what Mrs. Kasoma was saying. Apart from processing the raw materials, we need to own them, because we need to start keeping the profits. When we start owning this economy, we are going to have enough money to actually make sure that people in Kanyama, start living well. They start building proper houses. We start, putting proper drainages. But the reason why there's flooding everywhere is because we don't have the money, to actually do those things. But politicians will come every day and say, no, we're going to come and do drainages. How many years have you been hearing stories of drainages in all these compounds? Every rain season, politicians will come there, they will wear gumboots and start telling, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. How many years? Is that a thing that we need to continue on? That's a question that we should be asking ourselves. Is there something that can be done about it? Yes, something can be done about it. We can build our economy like the way China has built their economy. But we need to make, hard decisions. We need to start owning the economy. It's not, yes, Zambians are friendly people, but being friendly doesn't mean that you need to give away all your resources. Look at Kawe, like Mrs. Kasoma said. Kawe is one of the most polluted towns in the world today because of exploitation. Because the people, they got the money, went and developed their countries and left Kawe the way it is. That's why Mrs. Kasoma is talking about it. The issue of putting in the law, they said, when you are done mining, leave the place as you found it. Do something. But because people just come here to exploit us, they don't come here to develop this country. They just come here to exploit us. So we need to start actually, put in a different education to the masses, so that people should start understanding that, we need to stop the exploitation. If you look at a lot of these foreigners, even the Chinese, look at the way they build buildings. You can see that these buildings are not meant to stay here forever. It's just for making money, take the money and take it to their countries. And then when they're done, it will be like Kawe. Zinc oxide is there, affecting the children's, development. They can't develop properly. They are violent and all that kind of thing. That's, documentaries there on YouTube, on Al Jazeera. So we need to start doing things differently. And we cannot, what people wanted from the UPND was transformation. If you're happy with the CDF and what, good for you. But for us, we don't even want social corporate responsibility from these companies. We want to own the economy, because once we own the economy, we are going to invest the money in the country.
Mr. Mayele Banda, your concluding remarks as we go.
I think my concluding remarks is a thought that has been going through my mind, is this what we should accept as a country? Is this a standard? When I see floods, I'm driving, even in places like Ibex, it's flooding. When I see cadres in government, when I see people being arrested, is this what we should accept as a country? Should we, actually accept this is a standard for the country, that, okay, this is what the standard is for a country? That's a question that I'm going to leave, the listeners with. And we need to actually think about that deeply, because it's not just about me and you, Zach, or the listeners. It's also about the children. The poverty levels, according to Zambia Statistics Agency, have been going up, meaning that as we speak today, and as we go, if we don't do anything, our children will have it difficult in the future. But can we do something about it? Yes, we can do something about it. Thank you very much to 5FM and to all the listeners and those that called in. Let's keep, engaging. Mr. Philemon, I think let's improve our engagement for the good of the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there you have it. That was our guest for today on Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. And that was Andyford Mayele Banda, President of the People's Alliance for Change. And we did also touch on the newly published book of his, which is titled Economic Systems Dismantling: Why Zambia Can Be the Model for African Transformation. Thank you also to our partner radio stations that carried this program live. And I must mention that these are Tuta FM in Mansa and Muchinga Radio in Chinsali. Thank you very much to iWave FM in Chingola, Platinum Radio in Ndola, Spice FM in Kawe, and here on 5FM. Thank you so much. We will be back next week for the Tuesday and Thursday burning issue, God willing. From all of us here is take care of yourselves and more so of each other. Bye-bye.
My name is Esnat Lungu. Oh, you want to build a house, but in actual sense, maybe you just need to get a degree. Then you find that, you failed to build your house, but you've gotten a degree. So then that's not like, it's not like you failed. It's probably you just